a sec, I need...
Let's have a look. There we go. It's mid-transformation for Maddie anyway. Oh, I missed that. One more time. There we go.
I'm going to use that on you, Stephen.
Yay!
Right, pink.
Every day is so wonderful.
It's quite bizarre actually, you know, kind of in the process of doing this.
I quite like it.
I know, it's just kind of, it kind of feels oddly liberating. I don't know how you feel right now.
I do feel liberated.
Do you feel liberated?
I feel like at my quintessential creativity.
Your quintessential creativity. That's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it? Quintessential creativity. I quite like it though. I don't have to be any food. Hold on, wait. Are we recording this or are we? Alright, okay. Why don't we go?
You have some sexy legs.
Thank you, I know I do.
Very nice.
Well, let's have a look.
Let's go with Edward Macchiato.
Edward Macchiato.
There's a person.
As long as I can be, you know, a drama llama. So let's go, let's go round this way. Oh, I just tripped on my... So this is...
Let us first begin.
Lily, oh no, this boy's walk. No, go this way. This is actually...
No, but it's fine because we're recording something. Wife,
okay.
If they beat us up, I will stand up for you. It is fine.
I'll kick him in the nuts, but that's not the point. Like that. Like that.
Alright, welcome to Lily and Edward's first video. And we have just exited Albany Park, which you can see over my shoulder there.
Yeah.
And
what would you say? A bit of a harrowing experience?
I would say it's been quite harrowing. I just need to, you probably can't see it, but there's a flock of ducks that are just flying over the sea. It's beautiful.
Very poetic.
It is very moving.
But yeah, like, even just leaving the house and wearing something that you wouldn't normally wear, I think was quite interesting, straight from the bat, you know. Like, it's just the vibe more than anything, because people don't say anything. They never say anything, but it's just, you know, you can just feel it here, that you've just moved someone's world just a little bit. Maybe we've not, maybe I'm just kind of imagining that, but for me, I think it's just interesting when you see people's expressions in their faces, and you can just tell they're like, that's a bit unusual.
I like your phrase that we've moved someone's world, and you have to ask yourself, in what way have we moved their world?
Well, what do you think? In what way do you think we've moved their world?
All I saw was a couple of people who were sitting by their windows in their bedrooms and doing a double take when we walked past, and then peering over the window ledge as we tottered by.
So what would you read from them then? What's their reaction? Not apart from just surprise.
Well, considering we're at a university, it's probably not the most abnormal thing.
Especially with
seen.
St Andrews. Which is why I think people should do things like this, because I think it does challenge people's ideas, and wasn't that attractive.
I think there's quite a big LGBT community here though, wouldn't you say? I'd say more so than other universities, from what I've heard. But then at the same time, it's also a very conservative university.
Yep.
So you've got the extreme, there's a mosquito that is flying above me.
Is it? Let's see if we can. Where is the mosquito?
Oh my god, it's going for my balls.
Apparently mosquitoes don't like us either. Broke our scene. I'm not happy about that.
You broke a scene.
You broke our scene. Ooh, which angle's better? That one?
You're very close to
that
it.
one. Okay, so I think...
Take us back onto the subject, Stephen, so we don't lose track of ourselves.
What did we say our subject was going to be again?
Well, we were just talking about initial impressions of us.
Initial impressions. So I think...
in our alternative gender personas. Maybe we could just say a bit about our own identities, perhaps, or where we find ourselves.
And so it's maybe why we're doing this. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, well... For me then, I am a gay man, even though I kind of don't particularly like the title of gay man, because I think in a way it's very limiting and it kind of suggests a lot, which necessarily isn't true. Like, I would say that I am biologically a man, but at the same time I think that things are always put into boxes too much.
Yeah.
And I would say that in terms of my kind of inner self, not in a trans way, I wouldn't say it in a trans way at all, I would say in my inner self I'm perhaps maybe more feminine. But at the same time, doing this has been quite interesting because I'm quite uncomfortable. I didn't think I would be. I think this is quite an interesting experiment because to me this feels completely unnatural, I would say.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't do this normally.
No.
And so...
It's because it's such an outward show, isn't it? It's
yeah,
like,
definitely.
When you're just not adorning yourself from the outside, anything and everything that you are and identify with is internalized.
Yeah, and I think it also shows that people assume so much about themselves. That's a perfect example, isn't it, really? Like, I kind of assume... Hold on a minute. I don't know, it doesn't really feel very me, which is quite interesting, like, because I always thought it would be. What about
Wow.
you? What about you? What do you think?
I completely agree. I'm not sure yet how comfortable or uncomfortable I feel. I think probably the most obvious thing about me is my added facial hair, and because I can't see my own face, I'm not aware that I've got it on. It's a bit more obvious with you, Lily, because you're wearing a skirt. It's more unusual to see a man in a skirt and a woman in trousers. But in terms of the identity that I feel with, again, I really hate the idea of this whole boxing oneself into a certain type. Like, I hate how everything has to be defined, and then with those definitions come all the assumptions. So you're just constantly narrowing and narrowing something smaller and smaller. For myself, obviously, I am genetically
biologically,
biologically female.
I'm genetically human.
We are totally going to edit it.
No, I know.
That's
gonna be cut. I'm getting attacked by a gnat now. Anyway.
Wow, okay. But in terms of who I'm attracted towards both men and women. I would say, if I had to put a definition upon myself, I'd say I'm pansexual, so it depends more upon the individual than what they are biologically. And as for myself and my identity, I would say, you know, I have so many masculine traits that I often find it is quite of a clash within myself, that sometimes I feel like I am holding back in certain situations and not being myself. And sometimes I look at men and I don't look at them with desire. I look at them with envy. I suppose if you wanted to go all Freudian on me,
like penis envy?
Penis envy. Like, it's still going on in my life. I look at them and it's more like with admiration, like a man would look at another man than a woman at a man. I'm not necessarily looking at him and thinking I want to sleep with him. I'm thinking I would rather be him.
I'm pretty sure someone took a picture of us over there, by the way. Because I saw a camera flash and I was like,
well, there would be quite a few camera flashes from over there as well. I didn't realise we were that unusual, but I guess we are.
I suppose this is not really a normal thing. I actually feel so uncomfortable.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Do you think you might not do this again?
I don't know. I think I would do different.
Perhaps you don't need to be so overt.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. I think as a kind of get it out of your system thing, I think it's quite fun just to try and just shock people a little bit.
What do you think? Sorry to interrupt.
No,
what
go
do
ahead.
you think? Like, because I think about this quite often, and you know, there's, you know, the past 100 years we've had feminism evolving to what we see of it today in its various forms, but there's not really a male equivalent, and I feel like there needs to be.
I think so, because I think when people talk about feminism, they talk about how women are how women are affected by the patriarchy. So that's
how are men affected by the patriarchy?
How are men affected by the patriarchy?
I don't think men are dealing with it in general. No. I don't think they're facing this big issue that they have.
No, I don't think so. I mean, I've worked with a lot of young people. You know, that is my job at the moment.
Yeah.
And a lot of young men I find are very emotional. They're very emotional, but they can't deal with it and they don't know how to be emotional. They don't know how to talk about it.
It's that whole angry young men idea. I think that there is this huge issue, and I think that there are a lot of social implications that come from it. From, you know, like violence to rape to anything else that is not so extreme. That is coming from the fact that there is this internalized frustration amongst a lot of men.
And there needs to be an outlet for that form of expression.
And there's no acceptable outlet for them.
No, there's not, because if men do express emotion, I mean, obviously everyone expresses emotion, but I think there's a certain kind of emotion. There's a certain, like, men aren't allowed to be dramatic. They're not allowed to be upset, you know, about things. They get on and they deal with it. You know, they power through and then they find a solution. I think that's another thing which men are really forced to do. They have to be the ones on top. They have to be the ones to deal with things.
Yeah, it all comes down to domination and
control.
And that's the word.
Men
control.
have to be in control, and that's where you get all the problems, all the kind of gender biases, where you get, you know, women are weak. Women are the ones who are not in control, and emasculation is being like a woman, which is terrible. How can that be a negative category? How can being a woman be a negative category? I think it's very complicated, and I think there needs to be a manism, maleism.
I completely, wholeheartedly agree. I would like to add, on a final, very, very bitter note, the subject of rationality and irrationality. How it is unacceptable for women to be irrational by showing emotion.
Yeah, exactly.
And yet, for men to start wars or rape or be abusive to significant others. Every failing of man and mankind, how that is not considered irrational. And I would also like to express my distaste towards the phrase, hell hath no fury like a woman scorned. Like, what is a woman going to do? A woman, I mean, I can't even express it. It makes me so angry. The amount of damage that a scorned man does to womankind in comparison to the vice versa. Acid attacks.
Yeah.
Again.
Like, what is it, Katie Piper?
Katie Piper in this country, but in terms of other areas where it's a lot more serious, places like Pakistan and India and Bangladesh, where it is a real issue, like the amount of acid attacks. And I've read stories where women have had, you know, acid thrown in their face, but they've been disowned by their families, and they've had to go back to their abusive husband. It's absolutely beyond expression of words in the English language. It makes me so upset.
Actually, let's do a sum up.
Let's do a summary.
Bring it in. Okay, so I think basically the idea is we want to, as often as possible, try and do a video. I don't know if it'll be weekly, I don't know if it'll be monthly, obviously
it'll be
sporadic. It'll be sporadic, and hopefully it'll become more regular, but where we discuss, I think, gender, LGBT ideas, relations, personal things.
Well, for example, I did my laundry today.
I have not done my laundry.
I'll have to do it again in a couple of weeks. I try and do it every 2 weeks. It's
that
okay
kind of
for
stuff.
me to say
That's fine, yeah. But, so that's the basic idea. So that's what we kind of are aiming to do as soon as we can. Hopefully every maybe a couple of weeks or so.
Every now and then.
Every now and then. So yeah, like, you know, hopefully add us, let us know what you think, and we will, hopefully keep going. And we hope that the quality of our videos will pick up as well once we know what we're doing, our equipment to kind of get and it will hopefully go in the right direction and improve. Peace. See you later. Do a bit of a pole dance. I can't really pole dance, I'm not really that. Okay, so tell me about your van, Chuck. I'm a white van man driver, you see. Yeah.
That's a drunken swagger.